Show Kyle Bogey in for Jamie, and of course Friday the sad news of the passing of Mike Ilitch, Little Caesars, Red Wings, Tigers, Mr. Detroit, passing away at the age of 87. Join us now to reflect on his life and a couple of other things is the commissioner of the National Hockey League, Gary Bettman. Thanks for joining us, Gary.
Good to be with you, although it'd be better under other circumstances.
That's for darn sure. What did Mike Ilitch mean to you personally?
He was the consummate owner. And in addition to being a counselor, a mentor, a friend, he believed to his core in the strength of the National Hockey League. He was passionate about the game. The Little Caesars program, took youth hockey to new heights in Michigan, and he was just so passionate about the game. He loved the players, he loved everybody associated with the teams, and he was a fan at heart, which was great for all of the sports fans, particularly the Red Wings fans in Detroit. He was, a great family man, and he was absolutely committed to the city of Detroit, as evidenced by all of the things that he and Marion built downtown and all of the commitments that they made from their personal resources to help bring back a revitalization of the city.
Would it be fair to say that under his leadership, up until a certain time, and maybe you want to conclude now, that Detroit was the capital, basically, of American hockey as far as your league goes? Obviously, Toronto, Montreal will always be ahead, but during the heyday of the Red Wings, Detroit was hockey town per se, but what it meant to you guys, ratings-wise and everything.
It was clearly hockey town. The Red Wings, as an original six team, had a national following, but you have to remember that when Mike and Marion bought the Red Wings, they were drawing a couple of thousand people a night, and they actually revitalized the Red Wings as a major force. So all of the prominence that the Red Wings had over the years as a national, team that people from all over the world, certainly all over North America, were following, if you were a hockey fan, was a function of the fact that they turned the team into an important institution in Detroit and put it on the path to becoming the success they were with all the Stanley Cups. And I got to tell you, in addition to all the things we talked about Mike, he was a competitor and he hated losing. I mean, as much as he liked winning and achieving the Stanley Cups that they did under his tenure, he hated losing.
What was the biggest disagreement you guys had?
I'm not sure that we had any major disagreements. The only one that comes to mind when we changed some of the rules and went to shootout and things like that, I think it was fair to say, and I don't remember exactly how Mike voted, but he was more of a traditionalist than somebody who said, let's just be changing rules. But I'm not sure in the final analysis I recall exactly how he voted, but he was always a conscious focus on the game and wanted to make sure that the game was as strong and as successful as possible, in addition to the Red Wings being strong.
I'm sure he campaigned heavily to move to the East, right? Which finally got done.
He didn't have to campaign. We always knew that it was important, and when in fact we had the opportunity to do it, we had a number of discussions, and I had made a commitment to him that this is something that we would do because, and it was first and foremost about the fans, because they were unhappy that so many of the games that they played against the Western rivals were on later at night, and it was harder for fans, particularly young fans, to watch the games because they were on late. But it's interesting, being in the West and staying there for as long as they did was part of Mike being a league guy, but he passionately wanted the team back in the East, and that was something that we committed to do.
NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman here with us on the Jamie and Stoney Show on 97.1 The Ticket.
I also think, but one other thing which is most important is he was really a player's owner. I mean, he did everything for that organization to make sure players and former players felt a part of everything that was going on. He had a respect for history and tradition, but he also, because he loved the game and he loved the players who played it, made sure that the Red Wings always ran a first-class organization.
Gary, you mentioned 4 Stanley Cups since 1997, and I do think that is the one thing, that stands out the most, whether it be for Red Wings fans or, if you're just a fan of the NHL, obviously incredible, what they've been able to do. But, I remember reading A Coach's Life, a book about, Dean Smith and his life, and, he said that what was more impressive to him watching, coaches out there or programs or teams out there is longevity. Being able to do it and be competitive and be good for a long period of time, as opposed to, maybe rising up one year, winning a championship, and then dipping back down. Can you put into words how absolutely unbelievably impressive it is? Red Wings have been in the postseason almost every single year that I have been alive. It's truly remarkable how relevant and competitive they've been for so long.
Well, actually, I was thinking about this over the weekend after I spoke to Chris. The Red Wings, I believe, have made the playoffs every year that I've been commissioner, and
yes.
we're dealing with 24 years here. I mean, and they had 6 President's trophies, and I remember one time after they lost in the Stanley Cup final, and I think it was to Pittsburgh, and I was coming off the ice. And Mike was going on the ice to congratulate Pittsburgh's ownership. And, I tried to give the consoling talk that you do under that circumstance. And he couldn't speak. He was so upset that they didn't win. But that was him. And it wasn't that he was mad or angry. He was so disappointed because more than for him or the family, and he was the consummate family guy, it was more about the fans in Detroit and his players.
We have a new arena, as you know. Little Caesars Arena is going to start next year. Has there been any talk at all about the AllStar Game coming to Detroit for the first time in a long time?
Yeah, we're going to wait until everything is up and running and the construction around the area is complete. But I definitely see league events in the future, and we've had preliminary discussions. We haven't nailed down a date, but we want to make sure that everything, that the vision around the building and all the construction that has to be done will be completed so that everybody we bring to Detroit for this celebration will see the full experience and the full vision that Mike and Marion have had for Detroit. And it's going to be remarkable. I mean, think about what they've done in downtown Detroit over the last 20 years when nobody was doing that type of investing downtown.
And you got to be happy you don't have to set. Are you going to set foot in Joe Louis one more time?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what do you mean? I'm going to be happy I don't have to? No.
Well,
I mean, it's great. I mean, listen. It's past its due date. We can acknowledge that, but there are so many great memories and so many special times that took place there. The building deserves the respect and the admiration that we all have for it. But yeah, I'm going to certainly be there one last time.
The Olympics, that's been a debate. How soon do you guys have to make a decision whether the NHL is going to participate in a year from now?
We're not on any timetable. If somebody sets a date, it's not going to be us. Again, it's not that the NHL or NHL teams are anti-Olympics. It's just it's terribly disruptive to the season, and I think there's been some fatigue, because we haven't seen much in the way of benefit and growth of the game. I don't mean financial benefit because we don't get paid for going, but when the IOC and the IIHF said they weren't going to pay the expenses a few months ago, it opened a can of worms in terms of teams saying, now, why are we doing this? And why are we disrupting the season for 2.5 weeks at a vital part of our season where we just completely disappear and we can't even promote the fact that our players are there playing? And so it's something that's obviously been focused on, but there is a lot of concern and even some negative feelings about taking that break during the season and disrupting the season, both in terms of, competitiveness and just the flow of our season.
Real quick, I have to ask, Gary. I mean, over the years, I think you've had some fun with, going on the ice and fans, throwing out, some of the boo birds in your, direction. But I do have to say, the Super Bowl brought out a lot of boo birds for Roger Goodell. Do you feel like Roger Goodell is kind of stealing some of your thunder right now?
Well, I'm not sure I would call that thunder. You know what? It's become a tradition that all commissioners get booed, some more than others, I guess. Politicians get booed, some more than others. I've always said that if I go out on the ice and it's completely quiet, then something's wrong. But I will tell you, in terms of the booing and why I know it's become more or less a routine, is when we were in Las Vegas and announcing the name of the team. I think there were about 5,000 or 6,000 people that showed up for that, and I got introduced. Now, this is a city that is getting its first professional franchise, and I got up on the podium, and people started booing. and I said, actually, thank you for that welcome. This proves you're ready to be an NHL city.
Gary, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it in the tough circumstances.
Very tough, but the world, not just the sporting world, not just the city of Detroit, has lost a great, great man. I mean, Mike Ilitch was as special, as dynamic, as visionary as they come, and I'm personally going to miss him, and I know everybody who had anything to do with him is going to miss him.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.